So I just want to obviously introduce Nick. I'm sure when he gets to tell us, he'll tell us a little bit more about himself, but he's our district governor, and I've obviously welcomed Helen and Maeve and Cynthia, even though poor Maeve hasn't made it on. So I just now like to hand over to David, and David Brigden, for our new members, was our past president from not last year, the year before, but David, like a few others on here, have been with Rotary for many, many years and has lots of experience. So he's going to go through how he came to set up Hardin Dee Valley Rotary with us.
District Governor, fellow Rotarians, my brief, as I've already said, is to review the last 2+ years, give you a brief idea of how we set up Hardin Rotary and the activities up to June 2021. Well, it all started in 2018 in the August, and we walked the streets, knocked on doors, pushed things through, and chatted to people as we went round, and then had several meetings at the Fox and Grapes, which was our venue up until lockdown and now. Our main aim at that time was really to promote ourselves and to make sure that people knew what Rotary is, to obviously recruit members from the community. And we got the requisite number of people on board to set up a satellite club, which we did in 2018. And we started to make our plans then, really for the community to get to know us, and also to hold several fundraising events. And the plan was to hold one per month. Might sound ambitious, but we more or less did it over that 2-year period. We had on board at that time two members who were working at the animal park, and they were organising a Christmas extravaganza, and it really was an extravaganza. It was 6 weekends leading up to Christmas, and we put a stall on. We sold ourselves. We sold tombola goods. We made a little bit of money, and we got a few more members en route. We had in the new year a cheese and wine at the Tithe Barn, and that again was to get people interested, and it did that as well. And then our first big event really was the concert, of which we've held 3. The first one was on St. David's Day at St. Daniel's, and that was a concert of music and song organised by one of our members, Alan Myerscough. Fantastic success. The church was packed. We became involved in Rotary Kids clubs, and for the new members and people who are here for the first time tonight, Rotary Kids is one of the sections of the Rotary family, and it caters for youngsters in primary schools. And Hardin has, in fact, got 5 Rotary Kids clubs of the 20 that exist within District 1180. We held a Kids Out event at the animal park, which was great fun. Those people attending will remember it well, of certain members sliding down slides and things like that, and attracting attention with other people who were there, and answering questions as they said, "Who on earth are all you lot?" By June 2019, we had 23 members, and we were chartered as Hardin Dee Valley Rotary Club, and I became the first president of that club and remained in office for a year. We held 17 events up to March 2020, when of course everything changed, and we thought, oh dear, what's going to happen to us now? But we moved on. We held weekly meetings online, and we held 10 social events online, and we did 4 fundraisers as well for various charities. Gary Williams took over as second president in June 2020, and he had really quite a difficult task. As Pauline said, some of us, Beryl, Tony, Jeff, myself, we'd been in Rotary before, and we'd got, you know, a few notches on our belts in terms of things we'd done over that period, over the time we'd been in. But Gary was new to it all, and he had the job of holding the club together, which he did admirably by making phone calls to people on a weekly basis, emailing, generally chivying them along and supporting. And of course, set the scene at our weekly meetings. There were 10 online social events, 5 fundraisers. Gary, like myself, is a supporter of Rotary Kids and youth activities, and we did things with the Rotary Kids clubs and also with the school, Harden High School. But and before the end of his term, having set out a project of purchasing and placing a bench alongside the Commonwealth war graves in the churchyard, he finalised those details, and it's during this year, and Pauline's going to say more about this, I'm sure. A small working party made sure that the bench was ordered, and we're now waiting for its delivery. 2 more Rotary Kids clubs were planned, and these came to fruition in September, October. And as you'll see, albeit that I've rushed through that very quickly, we were very busy. We still are very busy. And, you know, I think what we did over those 2 years has provided a firm foundation for Harden Rotary Club to move forward. Yes, we need more members and younger members, and we need to be doing some novel activities. All these will come as you know, the restrictions of lockdown and our ability to meet face-to-face improves. So I will sign off at that point and hand back to you, Pauline. Thank you very much.
But so that we started this year with, we actually could manage to have a face-to-face meeting in the Tithe Barn, which was just great to see everybody. You know, it meant we could sort of hand over and have a chat with each other, and we actually managed to go for a little drink afterwards. And we all had to give our names and addresses, but you know, the most exciting thing I think was the new sort of rule that was set is that you have to lock the new president in the building as you're leaving, but they did let me out, Nick, you'll be glad to know. We had some new roles as well, people like Amit, obviously new to his role, Jan, Gareth and Barbara, and they're all doing a fab job. We then managed to follow up business meeting, live face-to-face, and then we had our first speaker meeting where what we were trying to do is involve people in the community. So David from the village, who's the village tailor, he came to speak to us, and it was just great to again see the work that's going on in the village and to get those people involved in what we're doing. Sadly, recently we've had to revert back to Zoom. I had COVID for 6 weeks, and other members were really poorly too, and safety was our prime concern. We have a lovely room where we meet, but it's just a little small. It's lovely but small. So we've had a couple of meetings on Zoom, and we've managed to record this meeting today. So it means I'll get everything out to everyone else, and we plan to meet back face to face in December later, not quite the midnight shift, but a little bit later, and hopefully we'll get to see each other face to face. David mentioned Rotary Kids, and we're obviously very lucky to have David, as he was also our district person for Rotary Kids, and Kate is now involved in the project as well, which is great. And it's obviously her background is in as I nearly said headmistress, Kate, but head teacher in these days, obviously will stand her in good stead. I know David's managed to bring new schools on board, and at the moment they're collecting toiletries for, I think it's Maple Grove, toiletries for the homeless. Also coming up, we've got David and Amit are doing some workshops and some mock interviews at Harden High School, and particularly with that, Amit and David both have a medical background, and I know that's what the workshops are aimed at, so that's great. We've been trying to focus on the 7 areas of Rotary, and what I did just before I took over, I looked at all of the branding, and all of our posts on Facebook this year are using the Rotary colour palette. We use the correct font. We're trying to project like a cohesive but welcoming image, and we have looked at what other groups have done on Facebook, and we've sort of used some of their ideas too and responded, which is great. And then the Mythbuster, that was a group in San Francisco. I think I first saw that, so they do know that we're borrowing it, and obviously in Rotary we share, that's what it's about. But it really sort of hits home for me because we're trying to create a group where everyone has their say. It doesn't matter whether you've got a little voice or a big voice. You know, we all want to contribute, and we all want to be heard. And a little example of this, you would see the slide for the Kaizen session, and that was actually my husband Jed that did that for us, and it was good fun. We actually met face to face, and it's about continuous improvement and bringing up ideas. No idea is a bad idea, and we sort of rank them in easy to achieve, too hard to achieve, alongside whether they've got a low impact or a high impact, and everything's on the list. And it doesn't matter how you know, it might not be possible that we can do something now, but in the future, you know, it could still be something that we can do there. An example of this was something that Diane, sadly Diane's not with us today, she'd get ready to go on a cruise, I think, brought to attention. I know we talked about it in the Kaizen about the toilet project in Africa, and seems like such a basic thing to us that we don't even talk about it. But she was keen that we possibly can do a donation. So that's on our agenda, this business meeting in December, which compared to obviously some of the projects that we've been involved with, that'll be possibly quite a small for us. It could be a donation, but no less, you know, no less important. The other thing about the Kaizen is that there's other measures as to whether we think things are good or bad. I know my husband used to talk about this in work. He said in work, the only measure was whether it saved money or made money. And obviously we're very lucky in Rotary that we've got other areas, you know, we can slot in where it fits in, whether it's to support the environment or towards education, but also it could be that it's a feel-good feeling that we get, or that it's something practical like planting trees. So I really enjoyed that, and it's something we're going to work as we get more ideas. We want to add them to that principle and try and think, is it easy to achieve or is it difficult to achieve? And, you know, might it take longer? Where are we? Next one. So we've got some upcoming projects. You probably didn't, I don't know if you recognize some of those pictures in Harden. We've got a notebook planner that we're producing in June, in the spring. And the idea of that as well, as much as that obviously it's something that it'll mention about Rotary in there, and Gareth's going to do is a walk in the area, and there's pictures of Harden on there. It's also what they call a passive income stream, because I know that Mark has kindly said he would sell them in the post office for us, and we can sell them ourselves, but it'd be available to buy worldwide on Amazon. So if we can chivvy somebody along to buy it, it'll be there, and we make £3 on each copy. And I'm all for setting something up and bringing money in that we maybe just need to update something now and then. The last week we had Come Dine With Me, which was fabulous. I know David did a couple of these like small intimate dinner parties before we were locked down, and that was great. And then Jan picked up the gauntlet and ran and did a one for all of us, and it was so fab to get together. You know, Jan has worked so hard organising it, shopping for it, cooking, and she did definitely have a team of helpers as well, and they were, you know, I know so many of you helped with washing up and preparing, and that was great. It was a fantastic night. It was so good to just be, and we even had a dance, so we've had some lovely comments of thanks for that and how we all enjoyed it. So thanks to everyone for that, and we raised £300. David mentioned about the foundation. The bench project will come to fruition, I think, possibly early January, and it'll be great to see that in its place in the churchyard. And it's to remember everyone that was lost, not only Commonwealth soldiers, but I know that's where it started, and I think it was really important that we did that, and I want to use it as a centre where we can maybe go and do some interviews. If we can actually find some people and have some stories, that'd be another sort of Facebook Live I'd like to do. I've only done a couple so far, but that's my plan. We've got a meeting in January to discuss some ideas that have come from the Kaizen Data Bank, particularly about our next district grant request. Obviously, we don't want everyone to agree in the group. We've got a couple of suggestions that were made, but that's by no means the only two we'll consider. We've just given people a little bit of time to think. So if I just say about bees would feature in one of them, Nick. And David has been in touch with Kerry, who is from one of the Rotary Kids schools, and that's a project to do with child safety. So that's obviously interesting too, but I'm sure there will be others. I laid the wreath at the cenotaph on Sunday, and I was so proud not only to lay the wreath, but to be laying it on behalf of Rotary. I can't believe that Gary and David actually asked me to be president. I'd only been in Rotary 6 months then. And they said, oh, you've got 18 months, you'll be able to follow us. It'll be fine, you'll know what you're doing. And then we had COVID. So I did follow David and Gary, but it's all so different now. But I had plenty of guidance. And the last slide was the top secret slide, which is our celebration in June 22. It'll be a village celebration, and it's steered by Mark, although I'm sure he'll have a list of jobs a mile long for us. And it's, you know, it's about the local community coming together, things like people like the guides to be involved, other adult community groups. And I could tell you more, Nick, but then I'd have to shoot you. And that's a bit serious for a district governor, too serious for that. So I'll not tell you any more. So that's my sort of follow on, really. I just want to show you a little bit of what we've done and some of the pictures and things that we've done. And just to say that I'd like to welcome you to speak. And I'm thrilled to be looking after this team, and they support me so well. I couldn't ask for any more.
Thanks, Pauline. That's brilliant. There we go. So hopefully you can all see that.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant. Let's get ourselves underway. I'll cover all the ground. Some of this I know you already know about, because I've seen it in your slides and some of the bits of the presentation that David gave there. I bring you tonight the greetings of Rotary International President Sheikha Mehta, because I'm his representative in our district. He comes from the Rotary Club of Calcutta, Mahanagar in India. And each year, the president gets to pick a theme. And as I saw it on one of your slides, you already know that this year's theme is Serve to Change Lives. Shaker uses a phrase, service is the rent I pay for my place on earth. So his choice of theme was no surprise to many of us. Shaker's got a number of areas of focus that he's asked us to look at. Each one bring one. Relates in most respects to membership. The empowerment of girls is perhaps a general one, and it's what we can do to level the playing field. Girls, women represent over half the population of the world, but they don't get half the opportunities. So he's asked us whenever we get the opportunity of doing our little bit to empower girls. And Rotary Days of Service is an initiative that is introduced really to try and increase the profile of Rotary, largely with a view of the PR side of it, but also of getting clubs to collaborate and work with others to undertake something which links into the UNESCO Days of Focus. It's not something every club can do, but it is there. And it's worth. Just going back to that, each one bring one. Rotary's membership has been pretty static at about 1.2 million members worldwide for about the last 20 years. Each year, though, 200 or so thousand people join, but we lose a similar number. And therefore, he's put forward that suggestion on the basis that if everybody brought just somebody, just one person, to one event or one activity or one meeting at some stage during the year, there's a good chance that probably out of a club with 20 people, 4 or 5 of those people would want to join you, basically. And if we just did that, we would be able to shift that 1.2 to somewhere nearer 1.3 million at the end of this year. Rotary has a vision statement, and I don't know if everybody is aware of it. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, but I like to focus on those last 2 words. It's a change in ourselves. I can say that very honestly, because this year has been very different for me. I've never done this before, and I will never do it again. And it is an absolute privilege to be able to go around the clubs and see what everybody is doing in different ways. And it will, my involvement with Rotary this year will certainly change me. Now, to underpin all of that, Rotary's got a strategic action plan. And it's only got sort of 4 components to it, so it's not particularly complex. To increase our impact, expand our reach, enhance engagement, and increase our ability to adapt. So the impact part of that relates largely to projects and our willingness to collaborate. The expanding our reach touches upon our public relations and our increasing our membership. Enhancing participant engagement, I suppose, is really membership retention. It's making sure that people are satisfied with what they're getting out of Rotary. And the increasing our ability, as much as it's about technology and innovation, it's about being relevant and constantly reviewing what we're doing to make sure we're relevant to the communities that we serve. So just really to sort of drill down onto those, I think we've skipped one forward there. Increasing our impact. bigger projects are something that's being promoted. Now, that's quite difficult to do if you're a smallish club. But the way that it can be done is through collaboration with other parts of the organisation, whether that's another Rotary club, whether it's a partner group or another voluntary group, or even just collaboration by utilising the resources of the Rotary Foundation. And I picked up that you've used district grants and you're looking at them again, and that's what they're there for. They're there to enable you to do more than you can do perhaps otherwise. And the other part of increasing our impact is to be relevant. And particularly in these last 2 weeks, the environment has become very topical, very big news. We knew it would be with COP26, and it is going to continue to be so. Hence why, of course, it's become the 7th area of focus. And it's also an area which I lay down a challenge to all the clubs at the beginning of the year to undertake something which improves the environment. And there is all manner of things that clubs are doing. Some have simply undertaken a review of their own personal credentials, what they're doing, and benchmark them, and then look to improve them as the year has gone on. Other clubs have done tree planting, other environmental activities. You mentioned bees. There's 1 or 2 clubs that are putting in bee farms, I suppose, for lack of a better word. So all of those things are there, but they all increase our impact. One of the key parts of this, of course, is that it should be something that appeals to the communities that you serve. It is no good for a club just to come up with an idea of something they like to do if it doesn't fit in with the community that you work with. And ideally, if you can have a measurable impact with the projects that you're doing, now whether that's simply the money that you raise, the pounds, whether it's the hours of service that you put into a service project, the number of families that you've helped or supported, it's something which you can use as part of your social media headlines of the impact that you've made within your community. Keep going backwards and not forwards. There we go. So expanding our reach. I've already spoken about each one bring one. Excuse me, this thing keeps jumping. There we are. Everything that we do should have some sort of membership thread within it. Whenever we're out working within the community, never be afraid of saying, well, this is Rotary, come and join us, come see what we do. This isn't all we do other things as well. It's the one thing we're very bad at generally, is that we do the project, but we never actually invite people in. And we need to increase our openness. And that is happening. And younger, newer clubs like yourselves are spearheading that, because you're not coming with the baggage of 100 years of history. You're doing it in the modern way. We need to build awareness. Brilliant that you're talking about social media and using the brand center and the color palette and all the right stuff. We are part of a global organization. And as much as we might like a brand, a logo that we see on the internet, we should be using the branding that is current, because McDonald's wouldn't let it happen, Coca-Cola wouldn't let it happen, and we shouldn't either. Expanding our reach also touches upon the need for diversity. And again, as a younger club, you have gender diversity. Some of the more traditional clubs have come from the days when it was a male-only institution. So you're not facing that, but we should always be thinking about what is our community, what does it look like, and does our club reflect that in terms of its membership? And if there's an area of the community which is not part of Rotary, then we should be actively trying to encourage it to be part of us. And if we are unable to do that, then we should always be thinking about a new club. You don't want to think about a new club because you are one, so we'll not dwell on that one. Enhancing participant engagement, and I think, as you say, with the Kaizen approach that you've done already, you're already doing a lot of this. We should always be asking the members, what do you want from the club? What do you want us to be involved with? And making sure that we deliver that for them. There's nothing worse than somebody joining a club thinking they're going to have an involvement with youth activities, and then they spend 2 years organising the social events for the club because what they wanted to do was something different, and there's the good probability that person will ultimately leave because they're dissatisfied. Shamefully, 1 in 5 people who leave Rotary leave because of that reason. So we don't want that to continue, do we? There are enormous opportunities for personal development within Rotary at all levels. At the club level, you know, some people have never run a project, never run an event. So giving them the opportunity of doing that helps them grow. At the district level, and for those that don't know, the district stretches from the middle of Wales, all the northern part of Wales, across through Cheshire to the M6, and then picks up the Wirral, picks up all of the Merseyside area up to Ormskirk. So that's our district, and there are district roles to be undertaken. So there is opportunity to expand your horizons beyond the club level if it's something that you want to do. And as you know, David is the district Rotary Kids champion, so you know, he'll be able to give you first-hand knowledge of what's involved with some of these functions. And now there are national roles that are open to ordinary Rotarians that don't have to have held any former district office. So there's lots of opportunity for personal development. And there are events and activities which I would encourage you all to engage with if you can. The Volunteer Expo, which is coming up in May next year, and it's a 2-day free event at the NEC, which will feature Rotary in the centre of it, and an opportunity to meet other voluntary organisations, hear some great keynote speakers, and a way of networking with Rotary at large. We have our own district conference, which is going to take place in the second week in May, and that will be in Chester. So not very far for you to travel to. It's largely a full day event, but we're going to have 8 or 9 keynote speakers there. Interesting speakers, people that will bring a different perspective on different things that we come into contact with as Rotary. And there is an international convention for those that feel brave enough to want to travel to Texas this coming year. And apart from that, there is also within the Learning Centre on My Rotary, lots of various training courses and knowledge courses almost that you can undertake, not just to learn about Rotary, but to learn other skills, facilitating, team leadership skills, diversity knowledge, things of that nature. So I would encourage you to take a look at that and make sure that you've got a My Rotary account opened up. And that last part of the action plan was increasing our ability to adapt. Our processes need to be reviewed. We are governed by a constitution, but every club can write its own changes to bylaws as long as they are in keeping with the principles of the governance. So if you want to do something differently, don't think you're tied completely by the rule book. Think about it. If you want to do it slightly differently, write your own bylaw to amend something. At a national level, you will have heard the phrase probably now, one Rotary, one region. And we are moving to a different arrangement on the 1st of July next year. Historically, the 25 district governors that cover Great Britain and Ireland would come together to be part of the General Council and would basically govern everything. And that took an awful lot of time for each district governor to do that, whereas they were really better spending their time looking after their district and the clubs within it. And so it's moving away from that arrangement and will be now be governed by a elected board, and that board will come into play from the 1st of July. The governors will still give input, but the board will be responsible for making sure that's delivered. So it takes that responsibility away from us. And we are basically going to be a pilot for the rest of Rotary worldwide. If this works, the whole organisation will probably move to this model at some stage. Innovation within your club. I would suspect you're doing much of this, but WhatsApp groups, hopefully you're doing it. Give us a thumbs up, Paul. Yeah, I would have thought so. Using digital fundraising techniques. Some clubs are using QR codes linked to sort of Just Giving pages, things of that nature, so they can maximize that. Also, tap and go card readers, as opposed to shaking a cash bucket. They're becoming increasingly popular now. And do I need to mention virtual hybrid meetings as we're sitting here on Zoom? Probably not. Moving swiftly on, Nick. Ultimately, though, what we're doing ought to be fun. We are a voluntary organisation. Every single one of us is a volunteer. We shouldn't have to fall out over anything, and we should enjoy what we're doing and leave a meeting feeling quite satisfied and with a smile on our face. And I'm going to close off screen sharing now and open the floor up to anybody who wants to ask a question or give me a roasting over something I've said that is completely wrong. So
everyone mute themselves. Thank you very much, Nick. That was really interesting and good that we've got our finger in a few of the pies that we should have there, and we're making the mixture for the ones we're not in. So I just want to say thank you very much to everyone, and yeah, great. Keep doing what we're doing. I think is the thing. So
yeah,
thank you, Nick.
Exactly that. Do what you do best, and
that's
you know what your strengths are. Play to them, and good luck for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much.
Such a pleasure.
Thanks to Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you.